myself back in the year 2000. This is me, heading off to the West Georgia campus. Some of you will remember our West Georgia campus debacle. However, I went to the West Georgia campus, and I was a relatively new instructor, not new, but still relatively new. And I had this lovely class of 37 students in a speech class. You can imagine how that was going anyway. In a room with a chalkboard. And so I stepped out in the hall to get some more chalk. And when I came back into the room, an impromptu game of touch football had broken out in the classroom. Someone had been hit in the nose. And I had about 5 people having a conversation on their phone, literally talking on their phone in the middle of the room. And it was at that point I decided that classroom management, what I call nipping it in the bud, was really an important strategy to consider. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to nip problem students in the bud. And it is my personal philosophy that prevent problems in the first place. That's the way to go instead of trying to deal with problems after they occur. So, I like to think of my classroom as my own personal little garden, and I'm going to tend to it, and I'm going to water it, and they're going to grow with knowledge, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. That's how I like to think of my students, as little seedlings that I'm going to bring along. But when you tend your classroom garden and you're trying to manage any problems that occur, these are some things that you've got to talk about or think about. You've got to ensure that those conditions are right from the very beginning. In other words, you've got to start things off right. You've got to do a good job on the first day of class of setting the stage. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Really watch your students as they progress through the semester, because this is not the kind of thing that you can just put a lot of work into it at the beginning and then just forget and not attend for the rest of the semester. And then when there are problems, I think you have to really deal with them promptly. So we're going to talk about some of these things today and then have a discussion about this hopefully. So, I think the best way to cultivate those optimum conditions, the way to head off problems before they begin, is to be a strong leader. Okay? Because you are the leader of your classroom. I think you need to establish your alphaness from the beginning, because you are the alpha, you are the instructor, you're there in charge. And students want you to be a leader. They're very uncomfortable when you don't run the show, when you don't take charge, when you don't direct things, if you're kind of sitting back. They don't like that at all. And I know I've actually been in classes where I thought somebody needs to take charge of this class because nobody's running the show. So this is actually what your students want from you anyway. Now, perception is everything. Am I saying that you should be, an angry, snarling wolf and say, this is my class and I'm in charge and you're going to do what I want you to do? Absolutely not. That will be completely and totally unsuccessful if you take that route, because you're going to alienate those students. But neither should you be our little puppy here on his little perch, just kind of happily going along and letting problems occur. I think you want to strike that balance in the middle. And so I try to be this lovely black lab here. He seems to be calm and in control. But labs, they're friendly, they're approachable, they want to help you out. So that's kind of what I am going for. And I think the perception that your class has of you as an instructor and a leader is really important. So, how are we going to claim that leadership role? What are we going to do to ensure things go our way? We're going to be organized. We're going to have some written policies. We're going to hit the ground running. We're going to manage those students and any problems that come up. We're going to try to deal with those in an appropriate manner swiftly. So, again, and these are, I should stop and say, these are strategies that I've developed that have worked for me. After the whole West Georgia debacle, I really started thinking about this and thought, what do I need to do? How do I need to proceed to make my class run in the manner that I want? And the manner that I want is friendly, approachable, sharing information, but at the same time, unified, not scattered, and not fraught with all sorts of student problems. So these are some things that have worked for me. These may or may not work for you. They may not be applicable for you, your personality, your situation, but these are just some strategies that I'm trying pick and choose the ones that you think will work for you. So for me, a big part of being an effective leader is exuding organization. I think when you come into class and you are prepared and you know what is going on, as you ladies have already mentioned, that translates to the students. And some ways that we can do that are some things that you've already said. Set important dates before the semester begins. So when they come in the door, they know we are going to have 4 speeches in my class. Here is when this is going to happen. We are going to have 3 tests. Here is when this is going to happen. It helps nip problems in the bud beforehand. So they know, oh, if I have a family wedding on this test date, I need to take care of that. Now, not that we want to be inflexible or not that these never change, but it's good to start out that way. Another thing that's been successful for me is to make sure that I outline the big picture plan for the semester. Here's what we'll be learning in this class. Here's what we'll be talking about. We're going to start off with speeches. We're going to move on into other areas of communication, such as group communication and interpersonal, that sort of thing. Again, setting the stage so they know exactly what is happening. In my experience, a lot of times students' problems arise from uncertainty. Students get a little anxious because they don't really know what's going on, and when's my grade going to be back, and oh my God, and I'm upset, and I'm going to complain to somebody, and so we want to alleviate that as much as possible. Be meticulous about having your assignments done and your materials done when you say you will. Now, if you're like me, you're probably behind all the time, probably behind right now. So the key here is to give yourself enough time in the first place. If you know it's going to kill you to get these ready by the next class period, don't do that. Tell them it's going to be a week, and if you have them ready early, it's just a bonus, and they think you're awesome. Or tell them it's going to be 2 weeks, or whatever. Set your date ahead so that when you come in under the date, they see you, their perception of you is, she is always on time, and she is always beforehand, not, she's always running late. Also, and this is up to you as well, this semester we have a new textbook. And it was my vision to take all the textbooks that I've used up until now and create the most beautiful handouts, the most inclusive handouts that could ever be. And they would incorporate all the information.